40,000 polling stations were set up across Kenya for 22 million registered voters in the country's general elections that took place yesterday. Vote tallying has begun, and the question is, who will take the reins after President Uhuru Kenyatta, with former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and current Vice President William Ruto the favorites. The vote follows an intense campaign dominated by debates about living costs, unemployment and corruption. Now joining us for an update on the voting process, I'm joined from Nairobi by political affairs reporter at KTN News, Emmanuel. Good morning, Mr. Tor. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, as I've just mentioned, Kenyans took to the polling stations yesterday in a highly contested presidential race. How would you describe yesterday's proceedings?
Well, yesterday's proceedings have gone on so well, despite a few hiccups that we were experiencing in some places. I remember in Kenya, we have two ways of identifying votes: electronically and using a physical register of voters. And of course, some of the electronic gadgets were not working, but there were only a few cases that were reported. But generally, the process went on well, and the process of tallying those votes is currently ongoing across the country. So that is the update that we have from what happened yesterday, and going on into the whole night until this morning. We yet to know who the winner is, but it is going to take a few days before we know that.
Now, Emmanuel, we know that Kenyan elections have a bit of a complicated history. Previous polls were marred by widespread violence, lengthy corruption, courtroom dramas, and in 2017, the murder of a senior electoral official and his girlfriend just days before the poll. How would you describe the elections this time around? Was it peaceful?
Well, it is still peaceful up to this point, but we expect that it is going to be peaceful even going forward, even after the results are announced. I remember the violence that reported back in 2017 and 2013 and 2007 when we held the general elections here in Kenya were reported after the results were announced. But Kenyans have vowed to move forward from that and, of course, just accept the results. All the leading candidates, as you already mentioned, Raila Odinga of a party called Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Political Party, and our Deputy President, Dr. William Ruto of a party called United Democratic Alliance have said that they are going to accept the results and, of course, urge their supporters to remain calm and, of course, support the winning team.
Well, it is great to hear that the possibility of these reoccurrences is very, very, very low as per their pledges. Now, there are other elections also taking place, which are the parliament and local government. What's happening in that front?
Well, we have 6 elective positions that are spread across the country. We have the presidential election, we have the governor position, we have the Senate position, we have member of parliament and woman representative in the county, which is at a lower level of administration in the country. We have 47 units of those counties across the country, and another lower position called a member of the county assembly. So we expect that the results from all other polling stations will be coming out. We have about 46,229 polling stations across the country and about 22.1 million voters that have turned up to cast their vote. But something very critical is that only by yesterday around 4 p.m. before the polls were closed, because they were supposed to be closed by 6 p.m., we had only 56% voted. So perhaps that is going to affect the turnout and, of course, the process of tallying. But we expect to get the answers of these questions later on in the day when some of those electoral units lower than the presidential one are going to give their results. But the presidential vote has 7 days to give the final verdict, and the results are still trickling in. Raila Odinga and William Ruto are currently head-to-head. According to the provisional results that we have, they have 1 million each and a very small margin between the two of them.
All right, thank you very much for that clarification. Now, the outgoing president, Uhuru Kenyatta, is also backing former rival Mr. Odinga. To what degree do you think this will play against the outgoing Vice President, that is Dr. William Ruto?
Well, that is a two-edged sword because the president enjoys a massive support. He has had his backyard called the Mount Kenya region, which is a vote-rich basket. About 5.7 million voters come from his backyard. But of course, throwing his weight behind Raila Odinga has some implications because Raila might get those votes. But Deputy President Ruto has always gone ahead to sell Raila Odinga in the Mount Kenya region as a state project, and there have been some resentment from that region about capacity not to be a puppet of the government. But Raila Odinga has vied 4 times. This is the 5th time,
Yes.
and he has said that he cannot be anybody's project going to this election.
All right. Now, let's talk about Raila Odinga's running mate, that is Martha Karua. If she's elected, she will be the first vice president, female vice president. What can you tell us about her?
Definitely, she's a woman of many fasts. If she's going to be elected as the deputy president, of course, that is going to make sure that Kenya has first woman deputy president in the history of the country since 1963, when we got our independence. And of course, she has served in parliament for 30 years as a legislator, and of course, having other aspects of leadership, being a senior counsel, a lawyer. And so her leadership, as she has already fashioned herself, is going to be fighting corruption and, of course, just ensuring that the rule of law and jurisprudence is followed to the letter when it comes to matters, legislation, and, of course, legal aspects of the running of government.
All right. Now, looking at the issues facing Kenya at the moment, what would you say, Emmanuel, should be at the top of the agenda of the incoming president? What should they support more and give address to in reference to the grievances of the citizens?
Well, firstly, it's about the issue of the high cost of living, which is across Africa, and of course, even in other countries outside Africa, because the cost of commodities have really gone up. The cost of buying the basic needs that everybody needs is a big problem right now. And we expect that the next president will be focusing on that and bringing the cost of living down. But we also expect that the corruption, which has been a big issue in Kenya, is going to be tackled. Perhaps those are some of the issues that we expect to be addressed immediately after any of the persons of the 2 leading candidates gets into office. But we have 4 of them. So right now, all of them get a chance, but ideally it is a 2-horse race between Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto.
Thank you very much for making time to speak to us. But before we let you go, your final thoughts, what's the way forward?
Well, perhaps just to tell everybody that Kenya is a peaceful nation. We are going to have a peaceful transition going into a new regime because the outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta, has served 2 terms. So it's just going to be a process that is going to take a few days, and will be home and dry with Kenya continuing as a strong area to focus on, and of course, a leading nation in terms of leadership and just showing the way forward for the continent, and of course for everybody else who would like to just get a good show of what government needs to be done. But of course, we ask everybody else to, of course, keep Kenya in just ensuring that they also just follow up with what is happening, and it's going to be a peaceful process from now to the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, that was Emmanuel Tor, who is a political affairs reporter at KTN News, just giving us an update on the elections that are currently taking place there in Kenya. The news is up next with Denver. Stay tuned.